Hello students, today let's discuss about preparation of recombinant DNA. In introduction, recombinant DNA technology requires combination of DNA segment from one organism with a DNA sequence of another organism. The process requires a number of molecular tools and should systematically proceed in a stepwise manner. As for instance, recombinant DNA technology involves choosing the gene or DNA segment to be cloned from an organism, identifying the appropriate vector for the purpose, insertion of the DNA of interest into the vector at specific site, and ligation of the two molecules. The recombined DNA molecule are then transferred to appropriate hosts. Recombinant DNA technology has a wide array of application in modern biotechnology and is a versatile technique that have changed the path of biotechnology. To further discuss about this topic, let us consider looking into types of vectors. In plasmid-based vectors, we have plasmids are circular double-stranded DNA molecules that are separate from a cell's chromosomal DNA. These extrachromosomal DNAs, which occurs naturally in bacteria, yeast, and some higher eukaryotic cells, exist in a parasitic or symbiotic relationship with their host cells. Like the host cell chromosomal DNA, plasmid DNA is duplicated before every cell division. During the cell division, at least one copy of the plasmid DNA is segregated to each daughter cell, assuring continued propagation of the plasmid through successive generation of the host cell. Many naturally occurring plasmids contain genes that provide some benefit to the host cell, fulfilling the plasmid's portion of the symbiotic relationship. For example, some bacterial plasmids encode enzymes that inactivates antibiotics. The plasmids most commonly used in recombinant DNA technology replicate in E. coli. Generally, these plasmids have been engineered to optimize their use as a vector in DNA cloning. For instance, to simplify working with plasmids, their length is reduced. Many plasmid vectors are only 3 kilobase in length, which is much shorter than in naturally occurring E. coli plasmids. Some plasmid vectors contain little more than the essential nucleotide sequences required for their use in DNA cloning, a replication origin, a drug resistance gene, and a region in which exogenous DNA fragments can be inserted. Some of the plasmids-based vectors are PBR322, PUC18, and PET21B. Next, we have virus-based vectors. Bacteriophages or phages, as they are commonly known, are viruses that specifically infect bacteria. Like all viruses, phages are very simple in structure, consisting merely of a DNA or occasionally ribonucleic acid or RNA molecule carrying a number of genes, including several for replication of the phage, surrounded by a protective coat or capsid made up of protein molecules. Lambda phage is a typical example of a head and tail phage. The lambda DNA molecule is 49 kb in size and has been intensively studied by the technique of gene mapping and DNA sequencing. The lambda DNA molecule is linear with two free ends of 12 nucleotide stretch in which the DNA is single-stranded. The two single strands are complementary, which is known as the co-sites, and so can base pair with one another to form a circular, completely double-stranded molecule. Due to its large size, lambda-based vectors cannot carry large-size DNA molecule. The co-sites of the phage DNA is used along with a plasmid to generate a hybrid vector called cosmids. Cosmids are circular, double-stranded DNA molecules containing a prokaryotic origin of replication, a selection marker, cloning sites for restriction endonucleases, and lambda co-sites. They are small, which is around 4 to 6 kilobase, and can hold insert DNA fragment up to 47 kilobase in length. Cosmid vectors are used for cloning in a manner essentially similar to plasmid vectors and can clone large fragment than plasmid or phage. Insert DNA is ligated between two co-sites using restriction endonucleases. DNA is packaged in vitro and introduced into E. coli. Since they lack phage genes, they act as plasmids when transferred into E. coli. Inside the bacterial cell, the cosmid circularizes and replicates as a plasmid, maintaining 15 to 20 copies per cell. In the next type of vector, we have M13, a filamentous phage. M13 is an example of a filamentous phage and is completely different in structure from lambda. Furthermore, the M13 DNA molecule is much smaller than the lambda genome, being only 6,407 nucleotides in length. It is circular and is unusual in that it consists entirely of a single-stranded DNA. Several features of M13 make this phage attractive as a cloning vector. The genome is less than 10 kilobase in size, well within the range desired for a potential vector. In addition, the double-stranded replicative form of the M13 genome behaves very much like a plasmid and can be treated as such for experimental purpose. It is easily prepared from a culture of infected E. coli cells and can be reintroduced by transfection. Most importantly, these genes cloned with an M13 based vector can be obtained in the form of a single-stranded DNA. Single-stranded versions of cloned genes are useful for several techniques, notably DNA sequencing and in vitro mutagenesis. Cloning in an M13 vector is an easy and reliable way of obtaining single-stranded DNA for this type of work. M13 vectors are also used in phage display, a technique for identifying pairs of genes whose protein products interact with one another. Apart from the M13, we have vectors for cloning large gene fragments. YAC, the yeast artificial chromosome, also known as YAC, which presents a totally different approach to gene cloning. The development of YACs was a spin-off from fundamental research into the structure of eukaryotic chromosomes, work that has identified the key component of a chromosome as being the centromere, which is required for the chromosome to be distributed correctly to daughter cells during cell division. Two telomeres, the structure at the ends of a chromosome, which are needed in order for the ends to be replicated correctly and which also prevents the chromosomes from being nibbled away by exonucleases. The origin of replication, which are the position along the chromosome at which DNA replication initiates, similar to the origin of replication of a plasmid. Once chromosome structure had been defined in this way, the possibility arose that the individual component might be isolated by recombinant DNA technique and then joined together again in the test tube, creating an artificial chromosome. As the DNA molecule present in natural yeast chromosomes are several hundred kilobases in length, it might be possible with an artificial chromosome to clone long pieces of DNA. Apart from the YAC, we have BAC, the bacterial artificial chromosome, involves a cloning system that is derived from a particular plasmid found in the bacterium E. coli. The use of the BAC allows large pieces of deoxyribonucleic acid from bacteria or non-bacterial sources to be expressed in E. coli. Repeated expression of the foreign DNA produces many copies in the bacterial cells, providing enough material for analysis of the sequence of the DNA. BACs proved useful in the sequencing of the human genome. The BAC is based on a plasmid in E. coli that is termed the F factor or the fertility factor. The F plasmid or F factor contains information that makes possible the process called conjugation. In conjugation, two E. coli bacteria can physically connect and exchange of DNA can occur. A BSE containing the conjugation promoting genetic information as well as stretch of DNA that is destined for incorporation into the bacterium. The foreign DNA, example portion of human genome, is flanked by a sequence that marks the boundaries of the insert. The sequences are referred to as sequence tag connectors. When the BSE becomes incorporated into the genome of E. coli, the sequence tag connectors act as markers to identify the inserted foreign DNA. Using a BSE, large stretch of DNA can be incorporated into the bacterium genome and subsequently replicated along with the bacterial DNA. In the next process of creating a recombinant DNA, we have restriction digestion. The breakthrough that made recombinant DNA technology possible was the discovery and characterization of restriction enzymes. Restriction enzymes do not cut randomly, rather they cut at specific DNA target sequences, which is one of the key features that makes them suitable for DNA manipulation. Any DNA molecule, from viral to human, contains restriction enzyme target sites purely by chance and therefore may be cut into defined fragments of a size suitable for cloning. Type II restriction endonucleases most commonly used in recombinant DNA application recognizes DNA palindromes, which means that both strands have the same nucleotide sequence but in anti-parallel orientation. Many different restriction enzymes recognizes and cut specific palindromes. The enzyme EcoR1 cuts within the sequence but in a pair of staggered cuts between the G and the A nucleotides. The staggered cut leave a pair of identical single-stranded sticky ends. The ends are called sticky because they can hydrogen bond to a complementary sequence. Production of these sticky ends is another feature of restriction enzyme that makes them suitable for recombinant DNA technology. The principle is simple that if two different DNA molecules are cut with the same restriction enzyme, both will produce fragments with the same complementary sticky ends, making it possible for the DNA chimers to form. Hence, if both vector DNA and donor DNA are cut with EcoR1, the sticky ends of the vector can bond to the sticky end of the donor fragment when the two are mixed. In the next step in the generation of recombinant DNA, we have ligation. Most commonly, both donor DNA and vector DNA are digested with the use of a restriction enzyme that produces sticky ends and then mixed in a test tube to allow the sticky ends of the vector and donor DNA to bind to each other and form recombinant molecules. In the process, donor DNA from any other source also is treated with the EcoR1 enzyme to produce a population of fragments carrying the same sticky ends. When the two populations are mixed, DNA fragments from the two sources can unite because double helices form between their sticky ends. There are many opened up vector molecules in the solution and many different EcoR1 fragments of donor DNA. Therefore, a diverse array of vectors carrying different donor inserts will be produced. At this stage, although sticky ends have united to generate a population of chimeric molecules, the sugar phosphate backbones are still not complete at two positions at each junction. However, the backbone can be sealed by the addition of the enzyme DNA ligase, which creates a phosphodiester bond at the junction. Certain ligases are even capable of joining DNA fragments with blunt cut ends. In conclusion, recombinant DNA technology requires careful selection of target DNA sequence to be cloned and an appropriate vector. The process requires following a proper sequential step of restriction digestion of the vector as well as the donor DNA. The restriction digested fragments are then ligated by an enzyme ligase. The produced recombinant DNA is further to be transformed in an appropriate host for multiplication of the vector along which the DNA of the interest will also be multiplied.